According to the finance report, the personal finance report published in CNBC, the Supreme Court is likely to dismantle the student loan forgiveness plan after it hears the case, according to a Harvard law professor. I'm Tyrone Bowman. This is Tyrone Bowman Tonight. Let's get right down to it. The U.S. Supreme Court justices have scheduled the high profile argument over President Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness plan for February 28th. The justices will consider the lawsuits brought by 6 GOP led states and a conservative advocacy organization. The 9 justices of the U.S. Supreme Court have scheduled high profile arguments over President Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness plan for February 28th, meaning borrowers suspended in uncertainty about the fate of their debts will at least know more soon. Since Biden unveiled his plan to cancel up to $20,000 in student debt for tens of millions of Americans, Republicans and conservative groups have filed at least 6 lawsuits to try to halt the policy, arguing that it's an overreach of executive authority and unfair in a number of ways. 2 of those legal challenges have been successful in at least temporarily stopping the president's plan from going forward. The Biden administration has appealed those decisions, and the country's highest court has announced it will have the final say on the policy, which will remain on hold until then. The justices will consider the lawsuits brought by 6 GOP led states, which argue that forgiveness will disrupt state entities that profit from federal student loans, as well as a lawsuit backed by the Job Creators Network Foundation, a conservative advocacy organization featuring 2 borrowers in Texas who are partially or fully left out of the president's relief. The fact that the justices have agreed so quickly to take both cases suggests they are eager to deliver a decisive ruling on the policy involving more than 30 million Americans, said Lawrence Tribe, a Harvard law professor. Higher education expert Mark Kantrowitz agreed that an eagerness to make a ruling doesn't bode well for proponents of the president's plan, because ruling against forgiveness is less complicated. Dan Orman, a law professor at Northeastern University, also predicted the U.S. Supreme Court will rule against Biden. He said the conservative justices believe government agencies exert too much authority and violate the separation of powers. Yet Tribe said the plaintiffs are dressing up their frustration with seeing students get relief in legal arguments about the separation of power. They think of this as elite, selfish kids getting at the head of the line when others have had to repay their loans. Tribe said, adding that Republicans have not challenged when other groups get relief. A report last month found that one of the plaintiffs in the Texas lawsuit was the beneficiary of more than $45,000 in debt cancellation under the Paycheck Protection Program, which provided loans to small businesses hurting from the COVID pandemic. The Biden administration insists that it's acting within the law with its student loan forgiveness plan, pointing out that the HEROES Act of 2003 grants the Education Secretary the authority to waive regulations related to student loans during national emergencies. The U.S. has been operating under an emergency declaration since March 2020. By January 4th, the Biden administration will have to submit to the court its opening brief in the cases. Responses from the plaintiffs are due around a month later. This is why the Republicans will continue to lose elections after elections, because they are always opposing any and everything to benefit the average person. And furthermore, it is highly hypocritical of these conservative-ites, yes, I coined that phrase, after they have been forgiving of their PPP loans, but they don't want others to come out of debt. just as they have. So continue to lose. Continue to stand against the American people, who are the ones that you are appealing to. I'm Tyrone Bowman. Never surrender. Never quit.